Hi, this is State Senator Tom George. Welcome to my program, Current Events. Today I have with me Denise Yockey. And Denise, you are the Executive Director of the Michigan Apple Committee.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about your job and what the Apple Committee is?
Well, thank you for having me on. And yes, the Michigan Apple Committee is a commodity organization. We are a governmental organization that promotes apples, and we do research and education on behalf of Michigan's 950 family farms that are apple orchards. So the law allows us to do research, education, market development activities. So kind of like a Got Milk campaign, but on a state level. That's what we do.
How long have you been with the Apple Committee for?
I've been with the Apple Committee working on 5 years. I actually have a bachelor's degree in horticulture, so agriculture is my first love. And Michigan, of course, is our third largest apple producing state. Behind Washington State, and New York is a little bit ahead of us, and so it is the largest and most valuable fruit crop that we grow in Michigan.
Why are apples grown here so much? I mean, what is it about Michigan that makes it apple friendly?
Well, certainly apples, I think we grow them in about 26 counties, so it's pretty widespread through Michigan. There are a couple orchards up in the Upper Peninsula even, so it's a very adaptable fruit. Really the predominance of our industry is going to be on the west side of the state, from Niles all the way up to Charlevoix, that area. And certainly the lake effect has a real beneficial effect on growing any kind of fruit and apples, as well as peaches and plums and
So it's
that.
the moisture, you mean the precipitation?
Yes, and also the moderating effect of the lake as we, come from spring. The lake will of course keep it cooler for a while. That retards the blossoming so that it doesn't blossom too early and then have a frost come along and zip it off. Unfortunately, this year we did have, and particularly down in southwest Michigan, we had the Easter freeze, and that will be remembered for a long time. The temperatures were below in the mid-20s for 3 days at least, right in the middle of blossoming. So that was pretty detrimental to a lot of orchards in southwest Michigan. The beauty of it is apples flower for a couple of weeks. You have different varieties coming on, and so there was still probably 60% of a crop in southwest Michigan, but a pretty difficult year where the lake effect didn't solve everything.
Do most of your members who have apple orchards, is this their sole produce, or do many of them produce other products as well?
I would say many of the growers are diversified in terms of crops. Thinking of some of our board members in Lawrence, he's doing cherries and apples. People down in Berrien Springs doing grapes, apples, the Concord grapes, the wine grapes. It's a pretty wide variety, and I think that helps keep people diversified. The other thing that growers often do, if they are large growers, is diversify the fields. And so they are getting, maybe as different people go out of business, they're starting orchards perhaps in different counties, different townships, so that if a hailstorm comes through, you're diversifying your risk in terms of the weather. So they're pretty smart cookies, they are.
What's the history of apples in Michigan? Are they native to Michigan?
Well, I think apples probably, we're going to put that history right with Johnny Appleseed. Johnny Chapman, that is really where they came from. They are certainly very adaptable to our environment. Modern varieties are pretty different than the crab apples and the little apples that we probably started with. But apples have been grown here for well over 100 years. A lot of people, I think we can put a lot of the credit to Michigan State University, Michigan State College at that point. A lot of people who were into livestock began to be educated about the benefits of the lake effect and some of that rolling land. When you have hilly land, that helps your frost drain off. And so that really makes good fruit growing land. And so I think the university did a lot of education at the turn of the, going into the 20th century to really let people know that in fact, there was a higher value crop that could be grown. And I know in the Grand Rapids area in particular, we had just a lot of growers switch from livestock to apples, peaches, taking more advantage of the geography that they had.
And we have some apple orchards in Kalamazoo.
You absolutely do. Kalamazoo and Van Buren County, you have in Kalamazoo County, We just finished the 3-year rotational survey. It's kind of a census of fruit, and we have about 100 acres of apples on 6 farms left in Kalamazoo County. That is down from about 250 acres 6 years previous. Van Buren County, though, is certainly an area of heavy production. 3,300 acres there, 56 farms. That is down also from about 5,200 acres 6 years ago. So we are seeing some reduction in acreage in Michigan, and particularly in southwest Michigan is where that's happening.
Why do you think that is, Denise?
Well, there are a few reasons. First, I will say we really had a devastating outbreak of fire blight in the year 2000. That is a bacterial disease, very difficult. You use an antibiotic to control it in the orchard. Fire blight just got out of control that year. It was so hot and moist. Took a lot of trees out. A lot of our growers are near retirement age anyway, and I think they just said, forget it, I'm not going to restart and rebound from this. The other thing that really went on in the 1990s was the importation of Chinese apple juice concentrate. Chinese were ultimately found guilty of dumping, but by the time that sort of diplomacy took its path, we had a good number of growers that were put out of business because they couldn't make any money selling apples for juice. And obviously you always have some that are not, as nice as this and not as well suited for the fresh market. So,
if I go to the grocery store and I get some apple juice or cider, is that likely to have been produced in Michigan?
Well, that is a great question. You really should check the label to determine that. We did a check just a few weeks ago, went out to the grocery store and bought everything we could find. And it will tell you the country of origin. You do kind of have to hunt for it. A lot of times it's an acronym, China CH, Poland PO. So people have to really look, but I think once you check that out, then you'll know your brand will be pretty much the same. Where Michigan really excels and where farmers innovated after this loss of market, single strength juice, so that's the kind that is sold maybe in a paperboard container. It's never been concentrated. That's going to be pretty much all U.S. juice and probably very much Michigan juice, and also apple cider. It may be shelf stable, sold with the juice in a glass bottle or a plastic bottle, or in the refrigerated section. But again, those products have never been concentrated, and then you can be pretty darn sure that you're getting U.S. juice, if not Michigan juice.
What's the difference between apple juice and apple cider?
Oh dear, it's a hard question. Well, it depends in whose company I'm with, how we identify that. But cider is really nothing has been added to it. I mean, some people call it cider if it's not transparent. You can't see through it. But other cider has been filtered, and so I think that's kind of a marketing term of choice. Sometimes a juice is more likely to have ascorbic acid or some of your basic vitamins added to it, and a cider wouldn't have that.
Cider seems to be more seasonal.
Yes, certainly. We've got a long history in Michigan of producing cider. We have 120 cider mills in Michigan that are licensed by the Department of Agriculture and inspected every year. There's a real niche for our growers in terms of being able to sell direct to the public and bringing people out. The general public, 2% of our public today is farmers, and so a lot of the rest of us want to go back and reconnect with our roots. And so going out to a cider mill in the fall, picking apples, that's just a chance to reconnect with our agricultural roots. And so that's been a pretty strong marketing opportunity for Michigan apple growers.
Now, what